Gavin Newsom is blaming this on climate change, as has President Joe Biden. But CNN reported that polls show most Americans are not buying the connection. Number 58.
I don't think Americans are making this connection. And the way we can see this in right here and now, take a look at the monthly change in Google searches. Look at the searches for wildfire, up 2,400%. My goodness gracious. This is the most amount of people searching for wildfires ever, going back since Google Trends began back in 2004. But look at climate change. Look at the change. It doesn't go hand in hand with wildfires. It's actually down. It's down 9%. And I also looked in California. There has been no increase in the number of searches for climate change. So the bottom line is this. Americans are definitely interested in learning about these wildfires. They're interested in following the news about the wildfires, but they are not making that connection with climate change. That's the bottom line here.
That's
Mr.
a
Berman.
really key metric you're looking at there, the connection. Overall, Americans being worried about climate change. What have we seen over time?
Yeah, you know, we have seen a lot of extreme weather events over the last few decades, right? Hurricanes, heat waves, wildfires. You might expect that Americans worry about climate change would climb. Climate change, worry a lot. You go back to 1991, it was 35%. Now, it was a little bit higher in 2007, a little bit higher in 2022. But look at this. In 2023, the last time we have data, 39%. That is not statistically significantly different from this 35% back in 1991. So despite all these extreme weather events, Americans are really no more worried about climate change than they were, what is that, now nearly 35 years ago? I mean, there's just no real trend line here, Mr. Berman.
So the question is why?
Why? Why are they not really worried a lot about climate change? It might be because they feel like there's not a whole heck of a lot they can do. So climate change, humans contribute a great deal. Again, there's no real trend line here over the last few years. 2019, 49%, 2020, 49%, 2023, 46%, 2024, 45%. That's actually down 4 points from where we were back in 2019. And so less than a majority of Americans believe that humans contribute a great deal to climate change. So the bottom line is that is a big reason why they don't worry a lot. They just don't feel like they can do anything about it.
So the trend line is going down, even as scientists say that the intensity of these storms and these conditions are getting worse.
Even as the extreme weather goes up, humans are not exactly as worried about climate change as they necessarily once were.
Harriet.
We're going to talk to someone who's written extensively about climate change and about the push away from fossil fuels next hour. Meanwhile, Newsom and the California lawmakers have appropriated $50 million to Trump-proof California, as Scott Jennings, the resident Republican on CNN, brought up. Number 51.
But I think also in this environment right now where immediately there's disinformation flowing through social media networks that cleaves down partisan lines, that is stopping our ability to be united. And we should not just accept that as inevitable. That is weakening our ability to unite as a nation and as cities.
Let me answer your criticism by asking you a question.
Sure.
Do you think it was uniting or dividing while in the midst of these fires for the Democrats to go to Sacramento and in an emergency session vote to appropriate $50 million to Trump?
That clip was cut off. He said to Trump-proof California. Sean Spicer, Donald Trump's first press secretary, talked about Gavin Newsom, number 56.
I mean, look at the Democrats in Hollywood that are calling out Newsom, right? If you can't, first of all, just to be clear, during an issue like this, it's the mayor that's really the key point, right? I mean, fire hydrants aren't in the purview of the governor. That being said, the governor's issue is more of a PR one, and he looked like a moron the last several media avails or whatever, that woman running after him by his SUV, his interaction with Anderson Cooper where he blamed the fire hydrants not having enough water on the mayor, which is true. But the point is that he couldn't even handle those circumstances. And that says a lot. But if you can't get Hollywood behind you and you're a Democrat, that's going to be a problem. No one's coming to his defense. Nobody's trying to say, oh, Newsom's a good guy or he's getting improperly blamed. He's handled this horribly, and it shows. So I think that Gavin Newsom, he's got to run because he's got nothing else to do, and he's only known how to be an elected official. But I think Democrats will eat him alive.
Lester is in Inyokern, California. Lester, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Larry. Hey, we all remember Chick Hearn, the Lakers announcer, and it's a phrase you can call it with Braille. And I'm sorry to say that, but the situation here with blue states like we live in California and big blue cities, sanctuary cities like L.A., is that in fact you could call it with Braille that they're so infatuated with facilitating illegal immigration and facilitating that and paying for that funds have fallen short to meet the needs of the residents. And also, too, I think it does need to be explored that some of the public employee union contracts these days are so draconian and so over the top that I think a lot of jurisdictions and municipalities are throwing in the towel on trying to facilitate them by enhancing services because of the enormous cost of these new contracts. I mean, I had a firefighter told me one day that he had a 3-day on, 4-day off schedule, and it was impeding his amateur fly fishing career, the fact that he still had to work 3 days a week. So I just thought I'd make that as an observation as we go forward here.
Yeah, and Lester, we have a massive underfunded pension liability, something like $1.5 trillion. I didn't say billion, I said trillion. And the pension obligations are one of the fastest growing items on the budget, if not the fastest growing item on the state budget, with pensions far more generous than the private sector. It's a huge, huge problem. When I ran for governor, as I describe in my book, As Goes California, I had a bunch of experts. We had one of those Zoom calls, including leaders in the Senate, leaders in the Assembly, Republicans, and we talked about the budget. And after about 2 hours, I said, this isn't a budget, this is a crime scene. All these projects, the money's not there for, down the road, and they pass them and pass them and pass them. And these taxes that depend heavily on the top 1%, so that when the stock market goes down, there's a huge, huge hit on the revenue here in the state of California because the principal revenue is the state income tax. Half of the state income tax revenue comes from less than 1% of the tax filers in the state of California. We're spending more money, K through 12, than ever before because a certain percentage of the school budget depends on the state budget. So the amount of money spending on schools never goes down, but the quality sure does. Thanks for watching these clips from the Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.